What? What?
Beer.
What?
Beer.
What? What?
Beer.
What?
Beer.
What?
Beer.
What?
Beer.
There is truth in advertising, yes I swear. Got new Nikes on my feet and Vidal Sassoon in my hair. I can sure use a Budweiser Fruit of the Loom underwear. There is truth in advertising, I swear. Why would they lie to me when they love what they sell? Plus we all know that the liars have a special fire in hell. On the television, radio, and in the magazines, the advertising gods perpetuate the American dream. There is truth in advertising, let it be, let it be. Now I know that I don't need to buy everything to try to sell me, but so easily divided is a fool and his money. There is truth in advertising, let it be. Why would they lie to me when they love what they sell? Plus we all know that the liars got a special fire in hell. On the television, radio, and in the magazines, the advertising gods perpetuate the American dream.
In 1995, during the 24th Super Bowl, Budweiser unleashed upon the world what Adweek would come to call one of the most iconic alcohol campaigns in advertising history. Created by David Swain, Michael Smith, and Mark Choate of the DMB&B St. Louis Company, the commercials were simplistic and charming, featuring three frogs named Bud, Wise, and respectively, who often croaked out their own, and thusly the company's, name. The original commercial was directed by none other than acclaimed filmmaker Gore Verbinski, who went on to then direct the first three Pirates of the Caribbean films, among many other movies. But if that was the most interesting thing about this ad campaign, we'd be in a lot of trouble. So trust me when I say that things only get weirder from here. The original commercial is often listed among the best Super Bowl commercials in history, ranking at number 5 on MSNBC's own list in 2004. But this was an ad campaign that ran from 1995 to 2000. That's 5 years. They couldn't just bank on having frogs croaking their own names for 5 years, surely. Yeah, well, they didn't. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The animatronic puppets were cutting edge for the time, especially for something as mundane as an alcohol ad campaign. Created by Hollywood animatronic effects company The Character Shop, the frogs had flexibility and capabilities because the puppets featured silicone skins over their armatures, which allowed them to breathe, bloat their throats, speak, blink, and move their eyes via radio control and rod operation. Like I said, fairly technologically advanced frogs. Which is not a sentence one gets to say with regularity. Though the campaign ran for a while after its debut, factoring in a number of other ads featuring the frogs, it wasn't until the side creatures began showing up that things got primarily interesting. And while I'm willing to bet everyone who remembers these ads likely also remembers the addition of the wisecracking chameleons, Louie and Frankie, I'm just as willing to bet you don't remember that one of these chameleons went on to hire a ferret who doubled as a hitman to kill the frogs. You know what? Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself again. Let's take a quick commercial break, crack open a cold one, and reconvene after these messages.
Louis, I'm hearing rumors.
Huh?
People think you're gonna bump off the frogs.
Oh, Frank, I would never do something like that.
No?
No. Especially not in front of 100 million viewers nationwide. Just after kickoff of the highest-rated sporting event of the year?
Good.
No, sir.
I have a confession to make. I love when ad campaigns get so up their own ass with lore. I find it absolutely hilarious. These 30-second spots that were once designed to sell you a product have now evolved into a soap opera with canon and a plethora of characters to write from. And it makes everything 1,000 times better. And let me say, the Budweiser Frog campaign is quite possibly one of the best examples of this. So, where were we? Right, Ferret Hitman. 3 words I assumed I'd never have to string together in a cohesive manner, but here we are. The ad campaign took a strange turn when one of the chameleons hired a ferret hitman to end the frogs once and for all, thusly ridding him of their annoying croaking. Needless to say, this failed miserably, and in the end it was in fact revealed that the frogs could actually speak with a complete vocabulary and knew all along about the plot against them. And once again, I cannot believe I have to say this, but the frogs then begin a new lifestyle as flashy tap-dancing, Fred Astaire mimicking acts on Broadway. I'm going to give you all a moment to let that sink in, because I know it's a lot to digest. How, in such a short span of time, did we go from frogs croaking a beer name to frogs with an assassination attempt by a ferret against them, who then go on to great success on Broadway? Somebody drop the fucking ball here. The Budweiser Frog campaign is kind of the equivalent of a soap opera in the sense that once it's been on for long enough, they just throw anything at the wall to see what sticks, leaving you with completely incoherent, nonsensical plot lines that come out of left field and ultimately go nowhere. After the frogs' utterly baffling exit, the chameleons basically took over the show, and while this all might seem oddly confusing and out of place, there is an actual reason. The Budweiser frogs suffered a fate much like Joe Camel, in that the media, politicians, and overly fearful parental groups feared that Budweiser was deliberately promoting their alcoholic beverages to children via the usage of an animal that they liked. And while statistics did in fact show that, like Joe Camel, kids could recognize the Budweiser frogs with an alarming regularity on the same level they could recognize Bugs Bunny, this is a very tired and very ridiculous argument. Kids can recognize them, yes, because kids watch television. And who lets kids watch television? Their parents. That isn't to say that Budweiser was selling ad spots during Saturday morning cartoons, but it just goes without saying that, of course, children are going to recognize an ad campaign that was not only overly popular, but also regularly parodied. If something is everywhere, of course children are going to recognize it. Nevertheless, eventually Budweiser caved, leading to the frogs' retirement and the lizards taking over. Likely because apparently lizards appeal to an older audience. Kids like frogs, adults like lizards, really? Okay. The Budweiser frogs are, if nothing else, an utterly fascinating example of not just an ad campaign really running on fumes, but an ad campaign that had nothing more than one concept. And to extend the lifespan of that concept, they really made it as convoluted as possible. It's not really a negative thing, though, because it makes the whole situation absolutely ludicrous and funny and worth remembering fondly. But they're also a great example of why you should never deviate from the core concept. Because once you get so up your own ass with your own lore in 30-second ad spots, things can, and generally will, go horribly awry, even if it's in the best of ways. So let's never forget the story of the Budweiser frogs, their ferret hitman, and the beer that brought us all together.
Oh, what a day. I get fired and beaten up on national TV.
Well, it could be worse.
How could it possibly be worse, Frank?
I think it just got worse.
And now, Budweiser's replacement for Louie the Lizard,
No.
the Ferret!
That's who they picked? gerbils who dance better than that. Look at him. He looks like a hand puppet. I feel dizzy, Frankie. Oh. When I get through with him, he'll never dance again.
He's good.
Don't encourage him, Frank.